Whenever you want.
So guys, Dr. Bourque wanted me to continue on a little different, a little twist to the conversation here. You know, I kind of explain myself, what I've been doing, you know, how I started as an entrepreneur, how the program can help me get there. You know, it is a grind. Like I said before, it's wake up in the morning, you know, right before I go to sleep, it's still on my mind. I even dream about this stuff. So it's all about who you are. Are you driven? Are you driven? Is it your passion about what you're doing? Or you have to be in order to make yourself successful in this industry? So you heard a little bit about me. You know, I want to hear a little bit about you guys. You know, I made the comment also. You know, look around, who's your neighbor? I don't know a lot of you guys. I've seen some faces before, but I don't know much about you. Just like with Woody today, I've known him for a couple of years now, but hearing him talk was new stuff for me too. So it's good to understand who you are. So if you guys don't mind, I'd like to kind of go around the room and ask the question who you are. You know, you as yourself as an individual, you know, what your experience is, your knowledge base, what you've learned from the program so far, what you want to learn, and really what you want to get out of it, and you know, what your career goal is. So if we just start across the room, I'll start over here.
So hi, my name is Juanita. I'm an architect with Garcia Stromberg, an architecture firm based in West Palm, and this is my second term here. I've been struggling with the finance part because obviously it's a brand new language for me. But I think you touched on something important where I'm still trying to figure out how to connect the dots. Like my background is in architecture, and I feel like through my experience at my firm for 3 years, I've seen a little bit of the development process. But I'm trying to really wrap my mind around it and see, once I graduate, how to kind of connect the two and go from there. I don't really have a clear plan of where to go once I graduate. So.
What is your ultimate goal?
I don't know yet.
Okay, what position that goes to?
I'm an architect.
Architect, okay. So architect guys, I mean, I'm not sure who's known that in the past, but from the presentation, talking about site planning and stuff, there's a perfect resource right there. I've actually met George and Peter. Peter, yeah. So good guys. I like that company.
Yeah.
One day I hope to work with them too.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's awesome. So good. That's good knowledge right there. So hopefully, you know, going back to what I said previously, real estate has so many different facets. You know, architect being one of them. You know, you can be an interior designer. You can be an engineer. You can be a finance guy. You know, just the overall development guy. You know, there's a lot of pieces that fit into the equation. So it's cool to hear, again, just one piece of it there, architecture. She deals with developers all day. You know, I met contractors as well that sit across the table with developers and want to learn what the developers, why the developers doing the things, why they're sitting across the table. So it's awesome for her to sit here and understand what developers look for, to understand why she's planning and programming her things. Because again, for me, I did a lot of stuff to do it, not knowing why. She's probably designing these things, and correct me if I'm wrong, designing a lot of brilliant buildings and product types, not exactly knowing why the case is, but maybe because it looks pretty, or it's what the developer is kind of pushing them to do, but why is it? And I'm sure that this understanding of development and finance that goes with this, with footages and rents, impacts what she designs moving forward.
For sure.
Awesome. Nice to meet you, by the way.
You too.
My name is Erin Ladd. I currently do business development and urban planning for Salt Michelson Architects in Fort Lauderdale. My background previously was I worked for a developer architect doing entitlements and site planning. And before that, I did transportation planning for large developments of regional impacts, you know, the Graham and the American Dream Miami project and those kind of things. So that's really been my background. And I came here because I kept going to interviews with really big developers, and they were like, we love your experience, but you need to know finance. So that's why I'm here, to learn the finance, and because I want to have my own development firm eventually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So do you want to like really grasp finance, or do you want to understand it?
I want to understand it.
I think that's key. You know,
yeah.
Finance is finance no matter what industry you're in. You don't have to know all the mechanics behind it, but it's good to have a grasp and just the top level knowledge of it, how to read, you know, financial statements, performance, and talk through the logic with people. You have to be the person actually doing analytics, which does help if you understand it, but of course you can't hurt you guys. And you know, having a planning background, you know, trying to understand the finance side of it, will definitely, you know, she has her essentially her foot in the door already. It's coming having the planning side up front, because that's a big part of it when you're doing your diligence, your planning, your entitlements. So she has a leg up on that already. It's good that she has some of that experience, understand the finance side. You know, you'll fit right in, I think. So yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And your ultimate goal is to do your own development?
I would love to have my own development firm. Like I said, right now I'm doing mostly business development. I do all the RFQs, RFPs, so I assemble the teams, and I know who's a good contractor, I know who's a bad contractor. I know I know who's who, and I'm
So
just being patient right now.
absolutely. One of the takeaways for me is having
Yeah.
experience. You know,
Yeah.
this program gives you a lot of opportunity, gives you a lot of insight. It's really a top level understanding of the development process because it's a lot involved. You're essentially the quarterback, and that's what it's teaching you how to kind of manage the whole process. But there's a lot of intricacies that go with it that are very specific. And you know, I'm learning every single day, so don't get me wrong, I don't know everything. I'm still learning a lot, have a lot to learn. I probably stop learning when I die, and that's really the reality of it. And you know, she wants to get into her own business. Yeah, she has some experience. She wants to get into the financial side of it, but it's as easy as looking at somebody in this room who knows the finance piece. That's it, because she has the planning in the background, understands the public side of things, and is able to put the packages together with the finance guy. That sounds like a good thing. Awesome. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Or Thomas?
Hello, I'm Thomas. I have a PhD in planning and real estate. The reason why we're doing this exercise is multifold. Instead of a war story, hey, this is another great project I have been working on or struggling with, Steve and I adjusted a little bit for the needs that came apparent today. And I want to give you that kind of, why are we doing this exercise? Yeah, so don't be afraid to be honest with yourself right now. And he's making comments all based on his experiences. I work with the underlying question, how can I improve? At the end of every task I am doing, classes, projects, fun stuff I'm doing with diving, how can I improve? Yeah? And remember, there's this thing called the memos in this class. And critical thinking is one of the learning outcomes of the whole program. And I want you to understand that this, what we're going to do now, is kind of engaging you in kind of a reflection process. Yeah? At the end of this class, today and in 4 weeks, you might want to look back and say, okay, what have been the opportunities, networking, new knowledge, but also where did I improve? Now that's the reason why we came up with the idea, let's go through the classroom, engage those that have been very quiet today. If you have been quiet today, you had time to think about what people said. And basically think about how can I improve myself with this. And the question what Tony raised, what are you going to do in the next 5 years? How do you get there? It's exactly in that ball game. Yeah? Mark Peterson said, hey, there are the 5 different C's when it comes to banking. One was character in the client. Yeah? That means it's not just the person you're sitting next to right now as a potential business partner, but it's also you. The character that thrives, that wakes up at 5 a.m. to go for a run before they hit the office. Yeah? The character that decides, maybe I need 4 or 5 years as a financial analyst before I start my own firm or thinking about my firm. Versus, hey, I can do this, and I met 5 people in the classroom that will be able to help me with this. Yeah? So that's my 2 cents on this exercise. James,
And to add to that real quick, I'm sorry. You know, entrepreneurship too is really not, it's not meant for everybody. Because it's a lot of work. You have to have a strong backbone, you have to tolerate BS, and you know, some people are just cutthroat. So going back to characters, who are you? Are you able to go out there and put the grinding? Are you able to deal with all the nonsense? Are you able to have sleepless nights because you can't sleep with all the stress? It happens, but that's part of being an entrepreneur. And if you guys hear differently from any other entrepreneur, they're lying to you. Either that, or they got their family handed them a huge bankroll or something. But it's tough. So you got to ask yourselves, do I want to be an entrepreneur? Because real estate development is very entrepreneurial. At the same time, you don't have to be the lead person in charge. You can fit into a role, an organization. You know, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be successful in this industry. You can climb the ranks and be part of a company. But if you want to, grow your own company and scale it and be, a top, a real developer, entrepreneurship is key. And I just want to state that for you guys. So,
my name is James Carter. It's like my 2nd semester, 4th term, however they come here, in the program. So I'm learning a lot. I have no real estate experience whatsoever. I just finished my MBA from Nova last year.
your MBA is in
Management. Got out of the military, and so trying to decide what I was going to do in the real estate program, and kind of reflected back on, because I've been pretty much coming back and forth for like the last 20 years. So I'm noticing a lot in the neighborhood has changed, especially in the villages that you talk about, like Flagler Village. Like 20 years ago, that was just, you know, projects and open fields. And now it's like projects and $1 million condos. And then it's like closed projects and more $1 million condos. And now it's kind of like just creeping, it's developing into something that it wasn't before. And so it kind of shows the potential for other parts of the county. But at the same time, it raises the question is where does those people that used to live there, where do they end up? Because nobody goes from projects to $250,000 condos. So you got to create a void in the county somewhere that's going to end up, you know, in the parking lot of the main library, so to speak. So that's kind of sort of what I've been like looking at getting into a little bit more, something like, you know, Habitat for Humanity, but something on a, you know, a larger scale, something that's going to be affordable, and kind of crack the, can you make a profit with affordable housing? I know everybody hears affordable housing and you hear, you know, everybody has their own opinions on what that means, but what does affordable housing mean? Is it something that you can make a profit in? And is it something that necessarily, you know, has to be like, you know, 8 carton housing? Can you make it something that's nice, something that everybody wants to live there, something that's going to improve the neighborhoods that it's built in? So it's kind of where I'm kind of gearing towards lately.
It's awesome. What did you do in the military, if you want to ask?
Infantry. That's pretty much blow people up.
Well, you know, you guys know I haven't been in the military. It's something I look back on shit did when I was younger, but you know, people who come with a military background have that drive, that determination, and you know, they can take a lot of heat basically without you know, folding. So it sounds like you had the backbone for it, and you know, you hit a couple good points. He came back, saw the problems, understood them, trying to learn how to solve them, and he's in this classroom today to try to alleviate that problem. So you know, I like that you're doing that. Do you have any, you know, finance backgrounds or anything else? What did you learn in the management program? Just more top-level management?
Yeah, it was more like top-level management. It was finance, but only to the point of, you know, managing those who do the financing. So, you know, kind of understanding what all the financial, you know, dealings and financial departments within that you manage. But it wasn't like in the weeds financing, so to speak.
So for someone like you, it sounds like this program's right up your alley. It's perfect for you because the developer is, like I said, he's the quarterback. He manages everybody. As a military person, as a management person, that's what you're kind of doing. So building the team and have everybody under you that understands the framework and all the, you know, the nuances that go with the underwriting or the architecture or site selection, you know, it's important to build that team. So awesome. Nice to meet you.
Hi everyone. My name is Isabelle Charles. I have a major in, I have a bachelor, in international business management. I had no experience whatsoever in real estate. I've been in the banking industry for the last 3-4 years. And I was looking forward to further my career, and then I really wanted to get, pick something that can also make a change in the world. And ultimately, my goal as a real estate developer is to take my talent to my beautiful home country of Haiti. And then I think it's a lot need of development, and I would love in the next 5 to 10 years to be part of the new generation that have a vision and that want to change the country for the better. And I don't have to get into politics and stuff like that. And you guys know it's been a war zone there for years. So ultimately, that's what I would love to focus, put my energy in. But for now, I would love to acquire the knowledge and the expertise, and when the times come, to bring my talent and to focus more in urban development and agriculture and infrastructure. So those are my things that I would like to focus on.
So she definitely has a mission, guys.
It's very bold. Nobody thinks like me, but hey.
Well, no, that's what drives you, though, right?
Yeah,
you see your problems in your home country.
It's hard to find someone who has a good vision that want to change their home, that want to change. Nobody just see this.
And there's a commercial out there, guys. Manny Pacquiao did it recently. I think it's Hennessy. It's like, what drives you, right? What's your rabbit? I think they call it. And your rabbit is your home country. You need something to drive you guys. You know, if you want to be successful, you want to push forward, you need something to wake you up every day and just hit the ground running. So awesome. You know, this program, I said, very top level, gives you a lot of good understanding. you know, from what you want to achieve, it sounds like the best fit would be to get into a developer. You know, you have the commercial lending background, it sounds like, which gives you advantage, and you're putting the door into a development company, especially with this degree. Learn as much as you can.
Yes.
You know, to understanding more top level, and then you can just go out there and investigate and kill it. Now, I don't know the political situation and how construction works out there, of course, it's all market different, but that's awesome.
Eventually, it will change. Eventually.
So again, guys, goals, drive, determination. Miss?
Oh, myself. I'm Lily Failashi. I come from consulting, business consulting. That's my business experience in the corporate world. And then I did some, I'd say, flipping projects, and was also involved in a larger project. Like it involved the construction of building, also the land, and that's pretty much. So I'm here to combine both experiences.
So you say business consultant, were you just helping small businesses grow, or what do you exactly do?
No, pretty much large companies like Pepsi, Cola, or you know, food industry.
What do you exactly do?
I was in sales and distribution, process management, and strategy, like evaluating their systems. Sometimes we needed to implement software. Sometimes we just needed to redesign their processes or their strategies. That was pretty much, but it was really large, like maybe 50 people in the project or 100 people in a project, you know, combine the client and the consultant.
And what is your goal? You want to get into, you know, you be your own developer, work for a developer? What do you think?
I like developing. I mean, I like the experience of changing the properties. You know, like seeing something and then like what you did actually. I think it's very interesting. And then you feel that reward at the end, like you did something that you know, it's almost like art sometimes. Don't you think it is? Like you have something and then you create something new, and then it might be beautiful or useful or just different. So I like it that way. So I think it's interesting because it's always different. Projects are different all the time. You know, consulting is the same. Like every project is different. Here you don't do always the same. You do something, and next time you do something else. So I find it like amusing as you know at the same time. Like it's always something new.
Yeah, as long as you like what you do, you know,
yeah.
If you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, they say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's awesome. You know, one thing with real estate too is very cyclical. You know, and some companies have their processes in place. When the cycle hits, guess what happens? They close their doors, they lay off a lot of people. Where the process has been with people, right? And that happens a lot. Like the company I started working for when I started my career at development companies, you know, same thing happened. The recession, just came out of the recession. They're creating more projects to the pipeline. They're hiring people. There were no processes. They were gone. You know, they were trying to start the infrastructure all over again. Someone like you who has a consulting background, understands processes, you can fit right into an organization like that. Help middle management, help manage the internal organization, and eventually the projects themselves. So, awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Hi, my name is Alana Stewart. This is my second semester, but so I started in August of 2018. I'm currently doing residential, so I'm a realtor with the Hopkins team up the street in Plantation with Cole Banker. We do work with like a lot of home developers, because I do want to build homes eventually. That has been a passion of mine. Like my parents, they built their first home like years and years ago. We don't live in there now, but it was still seeing them, like the process they're telling me about going through. They're not contractors or anything, but they do have a real estate background. So, but that wasn't actually the reason why I applied for the program. Because I went to undergrad at the University of Pittsburgh, where I have a degree in communications and a minor in sociology, and I volunteer a lot in the community in like major cities around the country. There's gentrification happening there, so I've volunteered at a library in one of the lower income neighborhoods. So it gave me a chance to talk to a lot of the neighbors there and residents, and they're telling me that they were getting kicked out of their homes, that they're building up a new luxury apartment towers, and they're gonna be able to afford it, and they're pushing them into like kind of like mostly minorities into like a small area, and so it was really like heartbreaking because a lot of people are very emotional about it. That said, it's happening everywhere, so that's something that I also wanted to help fix and find a better solution to that versus, as he said, moving people out. Like, what are you going to do with all those people? So definitely still trying to solve that problem. So I'm kind of still trying to juggle what I want to do ultimately, like in terms of doing both those things, like home building, because it's completely different, but I feel like I could kind of sort of find a way to combine it, but that's just kind of where I am now, because like I know Tony Trella came in this morning and was talking about a lot of the things you can do in real estate, like development, and that's what I'm learning here. There's so many things, you said it's multifaceted, so you think you can do one thing, then it's like taking a survey. You answer one question, yes or no, you think you're done with the question, then all of a sudden it's like a sub-question start following, so I'm just also like learning about other things. Like I learn best with shadowing, and like, because I'm like a hands-on learner, so like you can tell me these things all day and I'm like taking it in and learning it, but once I like to implement those things in real life and like solve those problems. So yeah, so I'm just kind of doing that, researching, making sure I know about the markets and stuff, so that's right now.
Sounds like there may be some synergies over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my partner is the same way. You know, he started with the brokerage side, the agent side, so understands more of the sales and how the end user interaction works. So that worked out well for us. So your ultimate goal is really just building for yourself, trying to fill a need with the affordability issue.
Yeah.
I mean, taking a step back for us, when we first launched the company, that's what our core focus was too, workforce housing per se. Knowing that we couldn't do affordable housing, we wanted to focus on workforce housing. It's so hard to make these deals work.
Yeah.
You know, our Palmyra project was originally workforce, trying to meet that threshold, but unfortunately we couldn't make that work. And every project we looked at from underwriting perspective and just construction costs really killing everybody. That's the big issue today. And it's really driving the affordability issue even further. So what we discussed internally was, look, we would love to do affordable housing, we would love to work on workforce and help the affordability issue, but what we can control today is at least our employees kind of, how do I say, taking care of our employees. So rather than trying to focus on a problem that we can't solve and we couldn't figure out today, when we hire employees, we're trying to create that atmosphere for them where we take care of that. So instead of trying to take care of the user, that's what we're taking care of today, is more of our employees. So I like what your guys' mindset's going. If you guys can figure out that problem, please reach out to us, because we want to help. We want to help that too.
Yes.
So very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
We met before.
Yes, we have. So my name's Anthony. I graduated from Interior Stat, which with a, sorry, my brain's everywhere. Had a lot of coffee this morning, and now it's coming to a crash. I graduated from SCAD in interior design. I took a bunch of classes in historic preservation as well. I'm in this program now since August, so second semester, halfway through, or almost more than halfway through. My focus is to actually go after this program to the West Coast. I want to be able to target affordability, because that's the epicenter of the epicenter of affordable housing crisis in the United States right now. I also want to focus on micro-housing specifically, because micro-housing I feel is much more sustainable and allows for the developer to still meet profits. So I want to go play around with that and see how it is on the West Coast. And my goal is to dive right on in after graduation.
So when you say West Coast, like Naples, or something like California?
California, Seattle, Portland, but my focus right now is I'm trying to network into Portland.
Okay. Well, again, understanding the problem, trying to figure out how to solve it, and attacking the problem. So it's having that kind of game plan and attacking it. So nice to meet you again. We met before too.
Yes. Hi, my name is Cynthia. My background is not in real estate. I was actually a jet engine mechanic in the Navy, so didn't study real estate, although I have been investing on the side for some years now, so I wanted to gain more knowledge just in real estate and the entire process, the developing, the financing, just going through purchasing a few properties, and actually I find it really interesting. I wanted to learn more, and that's why I wanted to do this program.
I mean, really the best way to learn, and she had that too, is like really being hands-on and doing it yourself. Kind of like a family did it on our own. I'm sure they learned a lot. I learned a lot at the company I was with before, but doing it on my own today, I learned so much more. And you know, it's every day something new. It really is. So it's a grind. Thank you for serving. Same with you. You know, nice to meet you. Angela.
I can not say it's a culture thing. Yeah.
But you know, the culture thing is also to take the hands out of the pocket.
Yeah. So anyway, back home, I'm from Arkansas. I'm Angelo Palladino, if you don't know. That's who I am. So I guess I can sit down and tell you the rest. Look,
Angelo from Arkansas. That's all I had.
Yeah. Like I still have scars from the nuns growing up. You know, never introduced yourself sitting. I had Catholic school. Anyway. So I moved down here about a year ago to come work for a 35-year veteran of the industry. I spent the last year doing proposals, getting indoors, really doing the marketing function for that. My background was IT sales engineering on the data center side. So we did, you know, a lot of stuff in terms of servers and a lot of nerdy stuff. But anyway, it's definitely been a good perspective coming into this program. It helps being, you know, forward thinking because you have to plan for the infrastructure. But
Your ultimate goal is to.
my ultimate goal, honestly, when I moved here, it was for two things. One, to get further embroiled in the real estate industry as a whole on the commercial side. I don't really like consumer sales. My sales motion was business to business, so I'm most comfortable with that. The numbers, what's our TAM, ROI, that kind of stuff. So I like the commercial side of the industry a lot because it's much more, the numbers-driven side. The other reason we moved here is my wife wanted to be an optometrist. Right? We don't have schools like that back home. So to support that dream, she was a small town school teacher and I've worked in a call center. So we moved 1,500 miles here to chase them.
So do you want to work for a developer or do you want to go out on your own and do stuff?
At this point in the game, I don't really know. I just resigned as, I guess, a sales leader of a commercial organization yesterday. So at this point, I'm kind of trying to figure it out. Things are in the air. There's a lot of good opportunity sitting around, so I'm just really debating on how to move forward.
So one thing I want to touch on too, just more my personal experience here. I hear a lot of people saying they don't have the upfront real estate experience. You're kind of here to understand it. I want to make something clear. When I started at Dalton Cummins, I had zero real estate experience. Zero. I got my foot in the door because of my finance degree, which helped. I.e., same thing with the real estate development degree. That would be your same leverage to get your foot in the door. So I highly recommend, getting that knowledge base from an employer, kind of learning on their dime, kind of what he stated earlier. It's a free education. We're actually getting paid to learn from those guys. And that's what I did. It helped me a lot. Obviously, while I was there, I came in here and helping kind of connect all the dots. Altogether, I'm only 5.5 years of experience in so far. So I still have a lot to learn. I've accomplished a lot with a little bit I do know. So just giving you guys a little heads up as far as don't feel shy that you don't have that experience. You guys are still young. Look where I was across from. I'm 33 years old. I may look like I'm 40 to some of you guys. I may look like I'm 25. I don't know. But I grinded a lot. During this program too, I worked full time. I didn't have a life for a year. My girlfriend dumped me. I gained 20 pounds. It was bad. I had zero life. It was my 30th birthday during that year. I didn't go out and celebrate because I had an exam or a test the following day. So it was.
I'm sorry.
It was. So it was a grind. It was probably the most stressful year of my life, but it was worth it. So don't get discouraged if you don't know the upfront stuff. Everybody here is still young. You have time to learn. And sky's the limit after that. So just don't be discouraged by that. So I just want to say that. So welcome to South Florida.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm Adriana. I graduated from UF. I have a bachelor's in political science. I'm in insurance right now, so there's nothing to do with real estate.
I want to say no.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, I'm in renters, so it's not much. But I think it's kind of like what you were talking about, the whole analyst thing. That's kind of where I want to go into after I graduate, and then kind of just, yeah, what you were saying, educate, you know, grow on their dollar.
Good. Well, you guys have to understand what you want, what you have to do to get there.
Yeah.
She hit a good point. She wants to start an analyst. That's the entry level position as a developer. You know, you start learning the analytic part. You know, that's what happened with me. Started as an analyst, with more looking at all the analysis up front, financials, transition more into the entitlement side and project management. So, you know, you slowly climb the ladder. So it's good. You have an idea of what steps you need to do in order to get to your ultimate goal. So, kind of fast forwarding, what do you want to achieve in the future?
The part that I like most about development is the whole zoning, actually like developing part. And since I have my degree in political science, I feel like that helps me. But I don't know how to get there yet, so I just want to learn as much as I can.
So you want to be a developer, the person in charge of the entitlements? Sounds like.
Yeah, or just, I don't know, the project. I don't know, I'm still figuring it out.
Okay, well, you got plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. You know what you want to do. You know the steps you got to do to get there. So that's perfect. You're doing it the right way. So.
My name is Brian. I started real estate. I got my license when I was 19. Bought my first house at 20. Sold that in February this past month. Don't know what to do with the equity. I want to eventually become a developer, doing what you basically are doing. I currently work for Lennar Homes, internet sales. I did marketing internship for them over there, and I got my undergrad in business management.
So your ultimate goal is to
be a developer. I don't know exactly where to start. I mean, right now my plate's full because I also have a multifamily in Fort Lauderdale, which is a vacation rental, so that's a whole other mess on the side. But as soon as this is done, then I would like to plan forth on what I want to do. So enough. This is overwhelming enough as it is.
Oh yeah, this is a lot taken for sure.
Yeah.
Have you guys met Chris Murphy? Has he presented here in the past? Yeah. So Chris Murphy did something similar, except that he held on to all his assets. He started a course when the market was picking back up. He's doing a great job. I don't know where his portfolio is at today, but he started with one home. Even I think last time I talked, he was upwards of like 55. I don't know where he's at today.
The finance class?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of same situation. You're asking what to do with equity. There's some knowledge gaps per se, call it. It doesn't take much to understand how to buy a home, paint it, and put somebody to rent it, especially when you're doing on the sales side. So that may be an opportunity for you to take on what you've learned or heard in the classroom, someone like Chris. Find those opportunities where you can capture some value, increase it, put some financing on it, pull your money back out, rinse and repeat. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, he's doing well. He positioned himself today, of course, not exactly today, but in the near future. Once those properties capture appreciation, he really set himself up to be a really good developer if he wants to at that point. If he sold his portfolio entirely, he's going to have some good capital in his hands and just go out and money with it. So, there's a lot of different ways to kind of tackle development and kind of get your foot in the door. That's one of them. You're working for Lennar now. That's awesome. Learn as much as you can. This degree here would probably allow you to move up or change position more to the development field. So just get as much experience as you guys can. One thing I used to do too, guys, and don't be shy about this when I started at Altman, is I would ask a million questions. It would annoy the hell out of everybody, but who cares? If I don't know what to do, I'd rather say I don't know how to do this rather than present something wrong. So I would ask the questions, and especially in a classroom, that's what this is for. Don't be afraid. If you guys really want to take this seriously and be a developer and ask the questions. That's what you're here for. Don't be afraid. Nobody knows everything. There's never a dumb question. I mean, there's some questions that may sound dumb, but they're not dumb questions, So feel free, okay? Just don't be bashful on that, guys. Nice to meet you.
My name is Andrew Schneider. I graduated less than a year ago from the University of Miami with a bachelor's in architecture. Don't have much experience, or don't have any experience in real estate like a few others do. I work for a small firm, architecture firm down in Miami. I've worked on a few projects since I graduated. As far as goals, kind of a broad goal, but you kind of touched on it with one of your projects when you were showing the new property owners the property and the reaction they had. I worked on one project right after I graduated, and it's kind of a cool moment to show. Not in my case, it wasn't the final project, but the proposal, the design proposal. and to see the reaction is kind of cool. So I want to figure out a way to mesh that with real estate. And
So you're currently an architect, I understand.
not an work for an architect.
Well, you're a work architect. Do you want to expand your role in that architectural realm, or do you want to kind of fit yourself in more into the finance development side?
I think I want to fit more into the finance development because it's one thing I lacked going to school for architecture was the finance side. I got like a broad understanding because I have a minor in business administration, so I got the finance, accounting, marketing, management, very broad though. So this is kind of very much more immersive in the finance side. So I just started in January, so it's an information overload a little bit, but it's in a good way. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do now, because it's just, I see there's so many opportunities. So it's kind of trying to sift through all the information and figure out what I want to do.
Well, learning a little bit about the architectural side, kind of get yourself into development more, or finance, more on the management side, always has advantages. You guys understand the design piece of it and how it affects your performing your financials. So take as much as you learn from those aspects of the architecture and implement those into what you're learning today. I don't know if you guys are learning site planning in your current role at the architectural firm, but key, that's so key. We're paying our architect, for example, and of course, it's all a local game, a local architect for the municipality. But site planning itself, for a small job like Palm Air, like $30,000 just for the site planning portion. If you guys could do it yourself, that's $30,000 you just save, especially as a startup entrepreneur. Just trying to think of how to be efficient and lean. That's one way of doing it. So learn as much as you can.
How much was the architecture? Like, did you hire an architect?
Yeah, well, the site plan was about 30 for that one. This is a.
That includes that site plan and
No,
architect?
the site plan was 30, and the architecture, the construction docs was like another 80 or 90.
Because you're consultant.
So if we do that in house,
$100.
that's good for that bottom line.
Which, by the way, you guys can take and put into project equity. If you're partnering with somebody and doing the work, so it's all sweat equity. You can basically put into the job. So things to think about as you're trying to get to your ultimate goal. So very nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Lei. I'm landscape architecture. Now I'm working full-time for design field, landscape architecture.
What company?
For the financial one, outdoor design in West Palm Beach. And now I'm doing, responsible for like the project construction coordination. And my goal is after graduating from this program, I can go to the developer in charge of construction management.
So you want to be managing a contractor during?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your experience with construction itself? Do you know building? Do you know assemblies?
Yeah.
You do? Okay. Well, that obviously is an advantage. Out of curiosity, how did you learn the building side for your landscape architect?
For what I know from the landscape architect.
Right, you said you wanted to be a developer managing the contractor, correct? Project manager for the developer?
For construction landscape.
For the developer?
Yeah.
So you want to be like an in-house designer, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there's always these facets like landscape architecture. A lot of that's subbed out. Developers usually just hire somebody to do that. I don't know. I've seen a developer have an in-house landscape architect. I just don't know that answer. But just kind of rewinding by your current experience and skill set, you understand the planning of the landscape architecture. You did say you want to be in the room with the developer, but it sounds like you're better suited for maybe the public sector, where you're reviewing all the developers' plans, kind of being that head person in the landscape department, which is a prestigious title, of course. You have that experience to kind of guide all developers through that process. To be in the developer's shoes as a landscape architect, like I said, I just don't know that as much. I haven't seen that example. But everything you learn on your side, there's key pieces that'll help you on the core development side. Just take as much as you learn from this program and just try to implement as much as you can into it. Yeah, I can't think of anybody that I know has a landscape architect in-house. Sorry, I couldn't help you more on that one. I was trying to think. But nice to meet you, though.
My name is Adam. I have a bachelor's in finance no experience in real estate. I am a manager at Wells Fargo right now. Would like to get my foot in the door, analyst type thing, but then eventually branch on my own, do something similar to the Zen Garden, where you take something dilapidated and make it new again type of thing. And also something we had talked about a couple weeks ago, like the strip malls that no one's really renting out. There's no stores there, and kind of like repurposing it then to something else. So
that's good. You see, you're identifying problems. How do you solve them? And honestly, today's climate, you know, like I said, very competitive to get these deals pushed across. Prices are extremely high. New development is really hard to achieve. I'm being transparent with you guys. You know, the opportunities that we've had our internal business meetings and conversations, we are focusing our, have more focus on value-add opportunities because you're already purchasing the existing building. You know, the infrastructure is already there. You're just improving it. So your all-in cost on the renovation is much less than your all-in cost today at a construction job. So that is a lot more realistic today. You know, putting myself in your shoes, I was kind of the same boat. Finance degree, zero experience. Having a finance degree, having this degree as well will really help you get your foot in the door with a developer. Learn as much as you can. You know, it gives you all the tools to, you know, strengthen understanding, especially with this program here. And yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have any problems after you gain that knowledge base, essentially, to do these projects on your own. So, yeah, nice to meet you, man.
My name is Brandon Bell. I just graduated last May from Florida State. I majored in real estate, and then pretty much the Monday after graduation, I started working at Landmark Custom Homes. And currently my focus there has been more pre-construction based, bidding out 2 houses. But besides that, I have field experience and marketing experience. And I do miscellaneous things like web design here and there. In a couple months, I'm probably going to sit for the GC exam and the broker exam, real estate broker. And besides that, I'm 23, building up capital.
Awesome. So do you want to be a developer, or do you want to grow your construction?
Developer, investor.
And a contractor?
Yeah.
Okay. Look, a lot of guys that I know, work contractors before. They learn nuts and bolts. I wish I know more technicality, but again, you can't know everything. But it serves great benefit to you, understanding the construction, the pricing, the bidding, doing your takeoffs, especially when it comes to reviewing the pricing with a third-party contractor. Because again, our biggest concern is getting screwed over, right? I'm sure you can review between the lines and figure that out pretty quickly. So that's very advantageous to you. So awesome, man.
Hi, I'm Marseille. I did my MBA at Nova, concentrating on entrepreneurship because my family had a business or has a business, so I focused on entrepreneurship. But my real dream is right now I'm actually gutting and renovating homes. So I'm into design and creation. So I'm, more like designing the homes, both from the construction standpoint and interior design.
So your undergrad was in what?
Undergrad, administration, but my graduate degree is from Nova. This is administration.
Administration as well. So how did you get into, house building?
Oh, well, it's not really flipping because what I do is I renovate and rent. So basically.
So you're adding value to existing.
Yes, because as we said, as we know, it's much easier than building, new concrete. And my thing is I like to go in and repurpose and redesign, existing.
So you're doing like Class A? You're doing it, what kind of markets are you looking at? Is it families, apartments?
Mostly like apartments and condos. Okay. So when I saw your presentation, I was like, oh, nice. I got some additional ideas and things.
So that's exactly kind of how Chris Murphy got started. He, rather than doing apartments like you were doing, he was doing single families, but the same thing. Right. I don't know to the extent of your renovations. Chris was always about just, putting lipstick on the pig, essentially.
Gutting, like the bathroom, the kitchen.
Oh, so you're doing a whole overhaul.
Yeah.
So you're looking at more, prime markets.
Right, like in Pembroke Pines and things.
And that's a good strategy too. Talking to Chris, he talking to him, he would have liked to do what we're doing today. Starting with the small apartment communities and growing it. But I told him, don't look back on that. You built a great platform.
Right.
He's doing single family homes, but again, he's doing like lipstick on the pig, not the whole renovation process that you're doing. But he's finding good opportunities, low value, in those type of markets, and increasing the rents and putting good tenants in there. So awesome. Sounds like you have a good path to go down.
Well, trying.
And what's your ultimate goal?
Well, ultimately, I would love to like acquire enough, you know, condo apartments, even like small single families, you know, like probably 1,500 square feet, those types of square footage, and just renting them because, I mean, basically you live off of that.
So I want to pick on you a little bit more.
If you have enough of them, I guess you could live off of it easily.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying?
So I want to pick on you a little more.
Oh, okay.
So how long ago was it you did your first one?
The first, well, I'm pretty fresh, about 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it started 4 years ago because I didn't initially start it as, you know, something like a business and all that. Initially, I had bought a property, you know, for myself, you know, to live, and I wanted to renovate it. So, you know, when the market was a little bit down, like 3-4 years ago, the market was like, you could get houses like for good prices. So basically I, you know, bought it and got it, and the resale value is really different now. So that kind of inspired me to, you know, like go on to other properties and like just, you know, got them. And I found the need for it because there's a lot of people that needed like apartments and small, you know, how would you say, yeah, affordable rentals.
So you kept your first one, you lived in it, you
Yes.
saw how you appreciated the value, and you're like,
Right.
"Ah, I can keep doing this,
Exactly.
put tenants in there and create a business off of that."
Exactly.
That's exactly what Chris did.
Right.
So let me ask you this, how was, I guess, that feeling, that faith to go out there and do that first? What was that feeling like? Just to
Well, the
realize-
first one, I have to tell you about that. Well, I actually called the city, you know, because GCs, I mean, you can pull your eyeballs out. So just for an example, like the front door. So they were charging me like double what the permit costs. So I called the city, and the guy was like, "Ma'am, you need to get a general contractor." I'm like, okay. So I hung up the phone and I went down to the city. So I said, I'm here to apply for, you know, a homeowner's permit for a front door. I don't need a general contractor for that. So that kind of, you know, started, you know, realizing that it's not that hard to go get permits and go do what you need to do.
Yeah, that's something very valuable. This stuff is rocket science, guys. It's a lot of work, a lot of hard work, very tedious, but it's not rocket science. You can figure it out. Now, let me ask you this, your first one, your second one, your third one, how much did you learn in your first one and your second one?
Boy.
And how much comfortable are you today to do it again?
Oh boy, the first and the second were like, whew. But, you know, after you start doing it, and it's like, okay, this is the basic floor plan, this is what you do for the kitchen, this is what, you know, because it becomes basic after a while, because you keep doing it over again. But the first one is always the one that is really like mind-boggling, and it floors you a little bit. But the thing about it is you have to keep your cool and try to keep your head above water. And it's so, it was so stunning for me because like at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm coming up with ideas as to what to do with the bathroom and the kitchen. So, you know what I mean? So, but after a while, you know, you kind of get seasoned and, you know, you're like into it. So it's not that bad. But the first couple of ones, I mean, trust me. I mean, those general contractors, you have to be careful. And when you're a woman, they'll take advantage of you. So you have to keep your eyes open. I mean, he was like, oh man, you know, you're real tough, but you're okay. I'm like, well, I'm not going to give you my money just like that, you know, so.
So guys, going back to looking around the classroom, there's a perfect resource right there. What she did to get her started is easily in reach for everybody here. I mean, it's not a problem. Even the apartment community we did, it's not that far to reach yet. It's a little more complex, I would call it, because now it's more operational, you have multiple tenants, and more, you know, financial components to it, but starting with one home, it's really not that hard. You know, she did it. She figured it out. It was a lot, you know, a very tedious process, a lot of headaches, but guess what? She did it. How many homes do you have now?
We have probably like 4.
4 homes?
Because it's 4 years. I mean, basically the first one took the longest, because what I find is that, and what I've learned is that the longer you hold on to the homes, it's the less, that's like having like 1 month less income. So the faster you can actually gut them and get them flipped or rent them, you have a, you know, you have a better financial status.
Absolutely. So you guys ever need any input or insight on what she did? There she is. I mean, like I said, in your reach, 4 homes in 4 years, that's a great start. Cash and appreciation. After debts paid off, that's all hers. She can pull refinance out, have now a boatload of cash, she'll go do whatever she wants with it. You know, development is development. It could be a home, it could be a big community. You know, you can get your start somewhere. You don't have to start at the top. Going back to the whole crawl, walk, and run with my situation, my partner, we're starting small. And it's something you guys can do yourselves easily. So congratulations, nice to meet you.
Hi, I'm Maylee. I started in real estate when I was 17 years old. I saw it peak and then I saw it crash. I started as a broker's assistant. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I went for my business degree. I have a bachelor's in business and management, and then I got a master's from here in business administration as well. I continued on with my license. Let's see, I worked for the same broker for about 6 years doing rentals. Then I switched over to be her property manager. Then I started selling real estate. Then in 2011, I moved to the east coast of Florida, where we're at now, and to Brevard County. And then I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I started working for an owner-developer, managing 5 commercial public shopping centers on this coast. And I decided I wanted to learn all facets of the industry. So I felt like if I had a big background with property management and managing a brokerage office through what I had done in the west coast of Florida, and then with the commercial developer, I really got a hands-on of dealing with national tenants, how to deal with the Publix, which is a nightmare sometimes. I went into the 6 shopping centers with very high vacancy rates because of the market being so bad. So I got to do a lot of walking around in the different neighborhoods and meeting different people in the communities. Got a lot of face-to-face exposure with just the chamber and meeting local owners to try and satisfy the spaces that I had. From there, by the end of 2015, I had all of my centers between 90 to 100% fully occupied. And then I decided I wanted to invest my time full-time to learning how to invest people's money, flip houses, and then just focus on selling. So then between 2016 to 2018, I probably flipped about 25 homes for customers and did a lot of wholesale deals, making other people money. And I learned that side of the business. And last year, I got my broker's license, and I've done 2 live-in flips. I'm currently working on my first official, not live-in flip. And I have a broker's license. I am partnering now with the gentleman that is my current broker to open up a 3rd office. And I looked at it as doing a strategic partnership because I knew all facets of the industry. He'd never touched commercial. He's the #1 agent in the entire county for residential. And I was the #1 agent in his office. So I said, hey, we can link together. Let's do a strategic partnership and let's open up an office. But I want to do the development side of things too and redevelopment. So I've built a lot of just really good relationships in the community with different local developers, and I make friends everywhere I go. Like you said, the contractors can be terrible, and in the process of doing a lot of the flips for other people, I made friends in the process, and they wouldn't look at me as the customer, they were just looking at me as the agent, and I was like, oh, please help me. So I made a lot of friends in that way, and now in the flip side of things, with doing it for myself, it helps because I've built some really good relationships. And then ultimately, what I want to do is I want to build mixed development. I want to have housing, I want to have retail spaces and office spaces. That is my ultimate goal. But my first step to get there right now is to open up my own office and then just work the relationships that I built.
Well, I mean, I don't have much to say with that. Everything together, it sounds like.
Yeah. I absolutely breathe and live real estate. When you tell me, when you were saying you dream about it, I go to bed 10, 11 o'clock at night and this is what I'm doing. And if I'm not doing schoolwork, I'm doing work. And then I go to sleep and I'm like, I wake up in the middle of the night writing stuff down. Like my phone is filled with just ideas. And
you said you started at 16, right?
17.
17.
Mm-hmm.
Crawl up and run, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, she started selling homes. Now she's opening up her own office. You gotta start somewhere. You can't think you're gonna leave this program or start developing, running a,
And it takes time. And I had to ask a lot of questions. I still do. I don't go anywhere thinking I know it all. I still ask so many questions because you never know who can tell you something that you haven't seen. What I have learned over the 14 years that I've done this is no deal is the same and no property is the same. And just when you think you've checked that last box, something else pops up if you didn't do your due diligence. That's like the biggest thing, just cover your ass.
Let me ask you this, so I don't have much to ask you, you kind of covered it all. Is how has the program helped you today kind of get to your ultimate goal here?
It opened up my eyes to the deal structure side. I've always strayed on the more conservative side of, you can give me your money and I'm happy to make you money. I've always been very fearful of using my own money and go all in, or I couldn't see like how, I've presented really big projects for commercial developers and I've never taken on that as myself to say, hey, I can put something in here. This really opened up my eyes too. Even if I have 20 grand, 30 grand, I may be bringing a lot to the table. I've been helping a lot of people make money without really charging for it, just charging like a regular real estate agent. But I've been giving a lot of pieces of information and putting pretty much whole deals together and managing the whole deals together without charging anything. And that, this program has opened my eyes to that, to be able to step in and say, hey, I'm bringing this kind of value to you, you would be paying a premium. Because in all the presentations we've seen and the ways deals are structured, I've realized that so many people are making money off of stuff that I was doing that I've never made money off of. So that's been one of the biggest things that I've taken away from it. And understanding your rate of return and how you invest your money going in and what you're actually getting out with the cash flows. I had never really seen that. No one had ever explained that to me. So that's predominantly the biggest thing I think I've taken out of this program.
But you also need to take into account you start networking a lot, and you can't charge for any advice, all the advices and all the work you give towards people, building those relationships or just giving them advice how they can improve. If you would start charging every time, you would be very lonely at some time.
Sure, sure. But, and I'm fine with you give a lot and you build those relationships. I 100% agree with that. But when you're doing almost all of the development work and you're just charging a real estate transaction fee to sell a deal, that's not worth it. That's what I mean.
I'm coming in the direction, like, I think Woody was kind of pointing out into that, like, you don't have to make $1 million a year. You're going to be fine with the 400,000 if they're consistently.
Right.
One of the questions I raised one of the first on-the-ground classes I taught here at Nova was, what's your income? As in, after you graduate from this program, what kind of income do you envision? And there was a small interaction between that 1 million and the 10 million.
Oh.
Not as in, I want to leave a legacy and I want to be able to pay all my bills. That's kind of where some people have to start, like pay all the student loans, pay the bills, and have enough money at the end of the month to pay the next month rent or your mortgage. That's the horizon versus I want to make 10 million in their first year of business. Right? But Noah was in that room. I can't remember if you have been in that room. We had a very interesting discussion. So that's about the idea of, I had some really interesting conversations with colleagues in the finance world on real estate, on how much money you can squeeze out of a project. And also, coming from the urban planning world, presented actually the argument, okay, fine, are you going to be okay with 11% instead of the 13%, but you make a change, a healthy change in your community? I think that's the reason why I like your project so much, because you're in there to make money, but you also do brave work to improve the community. It's not like, okay, one snapshot, make a big bang for the money and you're gone. And that's something you also, particularly here in the discussion round right now about how you can improve and what about the next 5 to 10 years. Think about that. Do you want to make big money in 5 years and you're out? Or you want to be one of those people that are going to be remembered as, he was a very humble person. You know? 30, 40 years of career. Remembered as humble, successful. You know? All right.
Yeah,
Any comments?
On that too, it's definitely a grind. I took a big pay cut for my job development companies to go do what I'm doing now, so, you know, eating ramen noodles per se. But, you know, I've been focused on just paying debt. You know, I just finished paying off my car last year. I'm paying off my student loan. I have like $5 grand left. And my credit card is down to 0 now, so I have only my student loan left. You know, hoping that the projects that we were working on over the past year and a half start really getting some traction, making us some money. So going back to the whole value add, reducing costs, increasing revenues, reducing my operating expenses, i.e. my bills, and I'm hoping to increase my revenues, my salary or project bonuses. So hopefully I can set myself up in the next couple of years to actually make some money. But today, guys, I'm telling you, it's a grind. I'm not in a good position. You know, I choose not to go on vacations because I can't afford them. So it's not a luxurious lifestyle today. Hope it can be very glamorous in the future. You know, you can make a lot of money in this industry, a lot, as you guys, I'm sure you've seen developers in the past. But yeah, it's a grind. So I just wanted to put that out there for sure. Very nice to meet you.
Nice
Ryan.
What's up, guys? I'm Ryan. I'm a graduate assistant. For those of you who don't know me, a couple new faces here around me. Glad they sat around me so I can introduce myself. My background's in finance. I'm looking to, and I'm also a big advocate of the networking and the synergy in the classroom. Hopefully I've made an impression that I'm less scared of Excel than you guys, so I can add value in that way if you guys ever need any help. I've also been working on macros and some of the other financial knowledge. I'd like to get some exposure with institutional investors and hopefully do some private placement, potentially run a fund, but I'm trying to keep my options open and look at any opportunities, especially to work with the people in this classroom, which are definitely the real estate leaders of tomorrow. And I really appreciate you coming. If you guys don't know, Steven's one of our most active advisory board members and really fights for this program. And, you know, just really appreciate you coming in and sharing your projects, and I appreciate you fighting for the program as well. Any recommendations, the investment banking, rotational analyst programs, please. This guy.
You got my number, right?
Yeah.
So, Brian, you're not currently working, right?
No.
Okay. I mean, what is your next step after you graduate the program?
I'm trying to position myself for these rotational analyst programs to get some full capital stack exposure, CMBS, invest loans, and equity investments, and try to leverage that to get the exposure to the institutional investors and those top level clients at these firms. And then, you know, down the road, once I'm really down, got really granular with it to kind of expand and put a team together. But, you know, I'm 5-10 years away from there and really trying to enjoy the process and learn from professionals, mentors, and alumni.
So out of everything Ryan said, is one thing I really heard is passion. If you guys don't hear that, then you guys can do your job. But he seems like he's driven, he likes what he's doing, he understands what he needs to get there. He has a good game plan in front of you. Good job, Ryan.
Wow, so that's a lot to respond up to. So this is actually my first class, so a lot of this information is like, but it's interesting. My background, my educational background is in psychology, so completely as opposite as you can get, I think, in a lot of instances. I'm currently working here at NSU in financial aid, so it's a little bit of finance, not really. I mean, we're pretty much just plugging numbers all day. But I have had some family members and friends that are in the industry in somewhat of a way. So it's always been pretty interesting to me. I don't honestly know enough to say where I would like to be involved. But Woody was very interesting. His presentation was extremely interesting about Habitat for Humanity. That's kind of always been the central focus of what I wanted as a career path, like to help others. So that was
why real estate? How did you get into coming into this program?
Well, I had taken honestly, some random electives when I was in undergrad, and it was always super, super interesting to me. And I kind of just wanted to learn more about it. I've had some friends that are, you know, in architecture, or they're in property management too. And, you know, I hear them talking about their days at work, and it sounds, you know, like the kind of thing that I could do or would like to do.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, call it a thrilling industry.
It's so different than.
Absolutely.
And
the best feeling, honestly, is when you actually, you know, work hard work, you build something, you're standing behind it, and you're looking at it, 2 years in, this is what I built. You know, it's a good feeling. So, all right, nice to meet you. We've met before.
Yeah, we met. I'm Mike. My background was in political
political science and psychology. Also, I've been working in tech the last few years in enterprise sales for ad tech data. And I'm originally from New York. I got a great opportunity to work for a developer here, Sabre Group, working nearby in Oakland Park. And you're currently doing the program. I'm sorry?
What are you currently doing with Sabre?
Like analyst. Joining the program as well, and really getting a lot out of it. Particularly, really like the GIS class. I'm not just saying that. I think
Make my day.
I think there's also we're also at a point where a lot of technology is creeping into real estate. Particularly on the acquisition side, on the management side, and I'm really interested by that. I'm really interested in multifamily, as a product type, as an asset class. So you started to do it before or after you joined the program? It was actually roughly the same time. I don't see it first, yeah.
What is your ultimate goal?
Become a developer. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you're doing the right thing. I mean, kind of similar to my structure. Started with my finance degree, put in the door, developer, come into the program, picking dots, still stay there a lot of time, get my experience. And by the way, guys, my 4-year development, I knew I wanted to learn more. In a perfect world, I would have liked at least another 5 years of real estate experience in that company because they're the type that's just throwing the fire. And I felt like another 5 years, I would have been a beast. I just would have had everything covered. However, the opportunity presented itself for me with no proposal basically, we can come into business together. It's an opportunity I couldn't turn down, so hit the ground running. Not sure what I was getting with that, but it sounds like you're kind of doing very similar steps to that. Learn as much as you can, grasp it, and then just go with it. It's a point in time where you're going to say, I know enough, and that's kind of how I felt. I was ready to make that leap of faith. I can do enough. I can do this. Some kinks going to be in the road. Crawl, walk, and run again. But yeah, it looks like you're on target there. So.
Hey guys, I'm Alex. Just recently started working at my family business, Ross Realty. I graduated from Florida State with a psych degree, so I didn't know anything. That's why I started this. I came to these classes. Basically, after the first semester, I got started, and now I'm looking at in practice all the stuff that they're doing, and my goal is just basically to learn as much as I can here, and then take that and bring it to my family company, and probably stay over there.
So, what piece of what you're learning here do you like the most?
Like the most? I don't know. Honestly, it's been so it's so new to me that it's just been really interesting, learning the vocabulary really, because I didn't even have any background or anything. When you guys just say letters and stuff, it's what does that mean? Okay, I have to look that up, and little things like that, and it's just now I'm what have we been 2 months, 3 months maybe? I know so much more. The next 3 months, probably know way more than imagine a couple of years. Hopefully,
So you mentioned you go back to work with the family after this?
Yeah, I just started working with them right now, so just getting started. Obviously, I'm not really doing anything yet. Just shadowing a couple of people and trying to see where they need me, where they use me, and then learn that process.
And what is their core business?
Commercial retail, mostly some office. They property manage, and they'll do some developing.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you had a great opportunity, having a family perspective, something I didn't have. Again, started from zero, no experience. Great opportunity for you. You're in the classroom, ask more questions. You always have your family go back to asking questions as well, and get some answers on, and come back to the classroom and bring some topics up from what you guys are doing from the family business to the classroom. It'd be great examples to hear from first hands-on, get some insight and questions from students, and it's all about interaction with everybody else we have. So, awesome. Nice to meet you.
Hi, my name's Alex. This is my first semester in the program. Graduated from Emory University in 2013 and got a degree in economics. And got a position as a financial analyst at Marcus Mellon right out of college. So I worked there as a financial analyst for a couple of years. really got my feet wet in the commercial real estate sector. I've always been fascinated by investments, and working in the commercial real estate sector, I was able to see that these commercial real estate investments have monthly cash flow, appreciation, and a tax advantage. And that's really what got me interested in the business. Rolled into brokerage, sold a couple retail plazas and single tenant net lease assets. Then I went into a asset management company in Lake Worth that owns 4 million square feet of office and shopping center malls. So I was really able to understand the asset management component of it as well. I currently work as a financial analyst at Kai's Commercial, and my goal with the program is to really increase my knowledge in the commercial real estate sector development. I know a lot about existing property, but development is a whole new aspect of real estate to me. Also some of the software programs, Argus, I've studied these sheets, but I've never actually inputted the information. And my goal is to go into acquisitions management. That's really passionate about that, acquisitions manager. That's really what I want to go into.
Okay, so you don't want to be your own developer, you want to fit into an existing organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, as real estate's evolving and changing, especially in the retail office sector, we're seeing a lot of, you know, Citrix at home, you know, people working from home now, not even going to the office. Retail, obviously, with e-commerce. Read that, you know, retail isn't necessarily dying, it just needs to be reformed. And that's something that, you know, I think that being an asset owner is something that you always have to be adapting to the market, kind of like what you did with your product, you know, where you were able to reform the whole thing and bump rents, what, 100%. So.
You hit a good topic too I want to touch on. You talk about retail dying. You hear that a lot in the communications today. There's truth to that, but also it depends on the type of retail. You know, so yeah, retail is transforming, but you know, technology is affecting it tremendously. Things like restaurants, bars, entertainment, you can't get that online. You know, and if you do, it's kind of weird. Like, how do you drink online? I don't know. But you know, having an understanding is great. So it sounds like you're kind of, you know, you have your career goal kind of established. Might have an opportunity for you. Well, so guys, I wanted to, you know, kind of summarize. I hope this exercise helped. You know, I didn't know a lot of you or what you guys did. Hearing everybody speaking, and I heard a lot of overlap. It sounds like you guys could benefit from knowing each other, kind of communicating with things yourself. Hopefully that opened up some doors of communication within you guys. You know, I mentioned before, the alumni network is always here to help. You know, I'm happy to provide you guys my contact information. I have cards if you guys need them. Answer any questions for you, guide you in any process. We love to be hands-on and help. Again, we're the future of this industry. So, you know, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but again, it starts here in this classroom. So, hope you guys found this beneficial.
To close this with a huge thank you, Steve, for your time and the improvisation we did a little bit earlier for the session. It's important that once in a while you sit down and do that reflection point. That critical thinking that I push the buttons with in assignments. You gotta have the time at some point where you say, hey, this is where I'm at right now, is this the way I'm going? And it's very interesting because Tony kind of brought this up again this morning, and I was laughing when he said that because I have a dear friend, graduated with Masters in Accounting just about last year in August. And we actually talked in early August. I'm like, so, turning 20, well, actually it was exactly a year ago with graduation in August. I'm like, you're turning 25 in August. What's your 5-year plan? Yeah? Universe exploded. So we understand that we have different age points in this classroom. Yeah? And if you ask the question for someone in their 30s, lower 30s, mid 30s, and say, hey, what's the plan in 5? There's a different experience and less fear about what will come. Yeah? Versus the 22, 23-year-old is like, oh God, at 25 I'm old. Yeah? there is a life between 25 and 30 and 35 and beyond, okay? So, but the life is changing. And that's the same thing as the market in real estate is changing. Your life and your own ideas about life do change. Does this mean that you're retiring in real estate? I wish you well, hopefully. You might actually end up in 5 to 10 years and saying, yeah, you know, I tried, I worked, this is not it, I'm moving in a different sector. Like we had among all this discussion today, we had one person in the room where we said, hey, your goals might be actually, career goals might be actually more in the public sector than actually in the private sector, because technically everyone here addressed a potential career in a private position. Yeah? You always come back and teach. Yeah? But think about this. The lessons of today, besides all these facets in the different disciplines, it's like German style, language comes through. You have to assess yourself in a healthy way. And I mean this purposefully with a healthy way. Don't sit down and write down a pro and con list and like, oh my God, my life is really bad. No. Yeah? Sit down, have an honest conversation with yourself, with your boyfriend, partner, persons of your intimate knowledge of your character. Say it like this. Can be your mentor even. And saying, okay, I'm right now at this point, I want to improve. And I'm doing this the right way. And believe it or not, we are all at the point at some time in our lives where you're going to do this, or have done this. Yeah? That's the reason why I'm asking the most critical or most defining moment in your career to my folks that are presenting here. Because there are moments where you're extremely proud of what you're doing, and moments you look back and I'm like, oh my God, should have done this in a different way. I should have done this in a different way. It's a learning process taken away from that moment in time. This is about improvement. Your degree here is about improvement of yourself with rising knowledge, with rising networking and character building. It's really rough and really tough to be called out. Hey, who are you? What do you want to do with your degree? At 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. Don't scribble angry notes about me. I have at least one student who received a text message in between and stopped texting. I have my eyes in the back here. Now I lost my track. Thank you. It's rough and tough to say, hi, I'm Thomas, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do. Particularly if you're not yet predefined with this thought. If we would happen to do this exercise in 4 weeks again, within this class, in 4 months after graduation, or in the new classes that torture you with technology, I really like that she has comment, thank you. Then you will realize even the question, finding the answer to how can I improve is a process. And every 5 years, it's actually easier to find that answer. That all said, I hope you had a very wonderful day today. It's long, I understand. I had a blast watching my speakers interact with you. They have been thrilled about being around with you. I hope you can express the same enthusiasm in the memo. Yeah? One memo for Saturday, remember. And think about this reflection part at the end in the memo. It's like be critical, do critical reflection. I read all of those. I make my thoughts about those. Yeah? Because then I also know, okay, where are you guys at? So all this little, hey, this is me, this is where I want to be, put that into your memo. Find that person that reflects your energy that you have channeled this in the last hour. Put that in your memo. Yeah? That all said, for students in this class, I see you in 2 weeks. We're focusing on retail, office, and the special types. The morning is going to be a fun session. We have board members and family members. It's going to be interesting. We have Gloria Fernandez coming, confirmed. We have Andrew Remick coming. We have Chris Rotella from the Rotella group. with the promise, I asked Dad if he wants to join. And Bill Rotella is a legend. Going to be fun. In the afternoon, we're having interesting mix. Bob Shapiro is coming from NASDAQ, also known as the guys behind Data Point, which is going to be a really, really cool idea. Right, we haven't had lunch yet with him. We've got to talk to him.
Oh yeah.
And, I have John Wittenberg, who is in the hotel brokerage and hotel development sector, and I have Eric Swanson from Anderson & Young coming. There's a fourth person pending. I need to double check on confirmation for the afternoon. So we have a wide variety, different experiences, different levels of industry exposure. All right, thank you very much. Have a nice Saturday.
Why are you